Hey, what's up everybody? BDF 44 coming at you in another video. Alright, so excuse me, leaving out the house right now, feeling pretty good, man. Head was hurting a little bit earlier, but I did some stretches, did some push-ups, did some squats and all that stuff, ate, did some art. Just made a good day out of it so far. It's like 2 something. I'm leaving the house a little later than usual because of the way that I handled my day yesterday. After doing my laundry, I slept during the day, went to sleep like around 2 o'clock. Poor decision because it kept me up till 3 a.m. But if ever there was a day I wanted to be up till 3 a.m., it was last night. Why? Because Kendrick Lamar dropped 2 diss tracks and Drake dropped a diss track, and I was able to listen to all of them. I was awake and looking at my phone when all of the madness was taking place, so I got a chance to experience one of the biggest days in hip-hop history as it was happening. And I saw Drake's song get posted, and then I looked up and saw everybody talking about how Kendrick had posted yet another song, and I'm like, Kendrick posted a song this morning, they're probably talking about the same one. Nah, he dropped something entirely different. And so I was able to really listen to them songs. I listen to Kendrick's song a lot, man. The Meet the Grams, I listened to that at least 12 times. Picking that thing apart. I really like Drake's song. Family Matters is a good song, but it just got drowned out. It got chest moved. As soon as he dropped it, he put it on DSPs. I love the beat. It's a bop. It's a good song. All of that. But there's no question about which song is more impactful when it comes to hip hop history. Kendrick dropped Ether basically last night. He dropped Hit 'Em Up last night. And it's just crazy how you didn't even get a chance to really digest any of the music. Like the song that he dropped earlier in the day, I just didn't get a chance to really even think about that song. I listened to it, and the songs that came later that night almost made you forget about the first song that Kendrick dropped. I honestly don't even remember the name of it, to be honest with you. Like, that's how fast music came at us last night. This is talking about Kendrick Lamar, artist who hasn't dropped in like 2 years, who drops every 4 years, and dropped 3 songs in like 3 days, 2 days. So I don't know what to do with that, but I go back and I revisit my conversation about J. Cole, and I think most people are revisiting their conversation about J. Cole, because J. Cole bowed out of this beef thing, man. And I don't know if he got phone calls telling him that, yo, this is serious. And we mentioned that when I was reacting to that. I don't know if he had phone calls given to him. But this is not minor, man. Drake is alleging that K-Dot is abused his wife, said that one of his kids might not be his, but one of his homeboys' kids. And then K-Dot came out and said Drake got a daughter that he's hiding from the world, just like he did Adonis initially. That he's that he's more or less a child predator, more or less, or a bad guy in that way, without giving you all the language. He said things about this man's character. K-Dot said he hopes a man die, and not in those words, but like he thinks he deserves to die for being a predator. He addressed his son, he addressed his mother, he addressed his father. I mean, when I think about the J. Cole conversation, it's like if J. Cole knew this was coming, then he made the right decision, because his energy with both of those people ain't this. Whatever the problem is, it ain't this. And that's what it really comes down to. Now look, this could all be for publicity. I got a theory that a lot of this is being drummed up and strummed up as a distraction mechanism from all that's going on in the world today. When you talk about the genocide, we haven't lost sight of that. More children have lost their lives this morning. So that's part of the conversation that needs to be had when you're considering the distractions and what it is that they would otherwise be distracting from. But I don't know what's going on as it pertains to if this is strummed up, who's leaking who information, if they're not communicating with one another and saying, let's just take it there. I don't know. Because I know these two individuals are under the same umbrella as it pertains to the record company, parent companies. They're the same umbrella. So the record companies could very well have said, yo, let's do this now. Let's do this and let's bring it out while everybody's waiting on the next big thing. We can just come out with this in May and just drop bombshells on the culture, distract away from all of this stuff that's going on, and just, you know, give us a memorable moment in hip hop and sell records and tickets and put more publicity on these massive stars. They'll probably both drop with albums this year, that kind of thing. So it's a lot of contractual stuff that always has to be in place when two artists like this move. It's a lot of moving parts behind the scenes that are manipulating the situation. And that's what I would tell these guys. That's what I would tell both of them. Like, obviously you know the game because you two are the biggest in it. But don't lose sight of the vested interests of those who want to pay into your success, failure, and demise. That's what I would tell Kendrick and Drake both. Like, just be aware that there are people who want to see y'all take it as far as you could take it and want to pick up the pieces from whatever you drop. You know, however this goes. And I was reading what people were saying in regards to J. Cole, and they were making jokes saying he's somewhere riding his bike, protecting his peace. He made the right decision. We were all wrong. If he knew this was what was coming, or if his spirits were telling him this was what was happening, he made the right decision. He listened to his instincts, and he got out of the way before this monster dropped, because these dudes ain't just going at each other's heads. They are more or less telling on each other things that could put one another in real harm's way. As it pertains to Kendrick, messing up his whole image from here on out, he'll be known as a wife beater. And as far as Drake, he can go to prison for a lot of the stuff that Kendrick Lamar said. Like, legitimately, he could go to prison. So it's like, this ain't minor, man. You don't have K-Dot and Kendrick Lamar. If all of this is not strummed up by record companies and think tanks that are meant to make people pay attention to one another, or pay attention to a certain subject rather, then these two people have crossed the line in some real serious ways. Especially K-Dot. He crossed the line in some serious ways, man. And for those of us who are old enough to remember Pac and Big, we know where this could go from here if it's not controlled by the record companies. Hell, if it is controlled by the record companies. Because I thought a lot of that was strummed up by the record companies too. And individuals who saw what was going on and manipulated it a little further to make it worse. This can end in both of these individuals not being here, man. I'm just being honest with you. While everybody's enjoying the rap, I'm sitting here like, yo, somebody's gonna want to see somebody in the street about this stuff, man. I'm just being honest with y'all. And it ain't usually, the thing that bothers me about these type of situations, and this is why I think Cole had it right, is because if you know it's gonna take it to this level, it ain't gonna be you that get touched. It ain't gonna be Drake or Kendrick Lamar that gets touched. It's gonna be their friends. It's going to be some of the people that hang around, and it's going to be the homies from their block that people can touch. Because they can't get to you. You move like the president. And that's why I think I'm a little disappointed in both of them. Not as it pertains to giving us the great hip-hop that they're giving us, but just how far they're willing to take it, man. And knowing that the streets are watching, listening, and both sides have people in the streets that are going to stand up. You know, they are. Kendrick's people out here and wherever they may be, they're going to stand up. Drake's people, they're going to stand up, man. And so this type of situation is dangerous. It's dangerous, and where K-Dot specifically took it made it really, really dangerous. And that's what disappointed me. Like, K-Dot, he better than this, man. He better than this. Just so you can sell records, so that you could gain attention of the masses. This is dangerous stuff, man. And so if you have a problem with somebody, a lot of this stuff, you don't have to do this on camera. You can tell a man to his face what time it is and demand a fade. or do a duel, fight swords. I don't care. But when you do this, and like 5 million people see it in a matter of 2 hours, you're gonna have problems, bro. Like, it's gonna be bigger problems than just you and that man. Now you gotta deal with somebody doing something to somebody else from each other's camp, and now y'all can't let this sweep under the rug. And for a guy like Kendrick, who's been through what he's been through, fought the case that he fought, people gonna look at him like, how far are you really gonna take this, bro? And a guy like Drake, who's had some of the similar energy surrounding him, but things have happened with people, and it's like, how far are you gonna take this, bro? And that's why I look at the record companies and the bigwigs behind the scenes. It's like, are you instigating this? Are you egging this on? And if so, do you have control over this in any way? And if not, then it's you who we need to be looking at when people start doing things. I'm sick of this. I lived through Pac and Biggie. It's you. People behind the curtain, Zionist bastards that invest in these companies that feed us hip-hop poison. It's y'all who I'm gonna be looking at now as a grown man. I'm not looking at them 2 kids. And they're not kids, they're grown men, they're in their 30s. But I'm not looking at them. I'm looking at the 60-year-olds that are behind them, who are investing in whether or not they succeed or not. The DSP companies, the various different platforms that want to egg this on. Y'all know what Kendrick said last night can get people shot. You know that. The things that Drake said could get people shot, but the things that Kendrick said, I'm just being honest, man. And last night, after listening to them songs, listening to those songs, I prayed a little bit before I went to sleep last night because I wanted to address it properly. I wanted to have the right mindset. I know what communication is on the internet about these songs. Everybody's excited. I was excited. I enjoyed it. But I'm not young, dude. I'm 40. I remember Pac and Big, bro. I remember that. You know what I'm saying? This ain't nothing to play with. When a man starts alleging things that could get another man looked into, camps start preparing for street behaviors. So unless both camps have been told to stand down because we got this under control and we're gonna keep it on wax, I expect violence. I expect violence. I'm just being honest with y'all. I expect violence. You can't say what Kendrick said without expecting people to be in trouble after that, violently. You can't. You just can't, bro. So that's what I was praying about last night. Kendrick Lamar has been on my prayer list for a very long time. He was one of the first celebrities I put on that prayer list. And the hip-hop fan in me enjoyed the content and the music, but the grown-up in me understands that it's going to be some people hurt over this. And that is something I expect more from Kendrick. I'm going to be honest, I don't expect necessarily more from Drake. I don't. I really don't expect more from Drake. Because Drake is a guy who meddles around on low frequencies. He's an intelligent brother, but he meddles around with some low spiritual stuff, man. He's not the greatest image guy. He's not. And maybe that's what Kendrick is offended by. Maybe that's the problem. Some of the things that Kendrick said alluded to that thing. I'm not looking for Drake to raise my kids, man. I'm looking for him to make bops that I'm going to enjoy. Say all that stuff that's going to get people going and having them, feeling however they're going to feel. I look to Drake to kind of be the woman whisperer, for lack of a derogatory term that'll make that rhyme. He's going to be able to speak to them in ways nobody else does. That's his superpower. And over the last 10 years or so, I expect for him to, when he gets into beefs, come out with fire songs that are going to be memorable, like Back to Back. I expect for him to come with the cadences and the various different things that he does. I'm not mad at him for any of his style, because I think his style has proven to be not only entertaining, but it's very, very successful. Now, whether or not he's got a machine behind him that will allow him to buy promotion in different ways, which is what Kendrick alleges. I mean, that's kind of goes without saying, to be honest with you. I think that goes without saying, but I think he has enough genuine support with people who genuinely like his music that he would still be one of the top sellers, even if that was not in place. If he didn't buy whatever extra numbers he's buying, however extra way he may. The people behind him may be doing that because they know they want to keep him on top because it's very lucrative to do so. He's been on top the whole time. So I don't doubt that there's some skullduggery going on with some of the numbers with Drake. I don't doubt that. But I think the music, it speaks for itself. The image of the guy may not be that great, but it speaks for itself, man. However, what Kendrick is alleging is going to have people looking at Drake in ways that he's never been looked at before by the masses. Conversations that were said here and there about Drake are going to be said in the most prominent places. And that's not what the powers that be necessarily want for Drake, in my opinion, unless they're ready to push the button on changing the tide of that, which I don't doubt. They build you up to tear you down. But we understand, look, I'm going to say the truth. We understand that Drake is half Jewish, man, and we understand what that means in this country right now and what's going on right now. So when I see him a part of a great distraction from what's going on with the Zionist movement, I don't think that that's too far away from itself. From what the Zionists are doing in this world, and you see the biggest rapper happens to be half Jewish, is a part of the great distraction, I don't think that that's just nothing to look at. Not only that, but I look to Kendrick Lamar to be one to speak up on a lot of different things that are going on in the world. And I'd be lying if I said I didn't sense him being quiet about the situation as well. And I thought that that was very, very clearly for reasons that were probably not great. I would expect Kendrick Lamar to be speaking up on genocide. I really would. And since he hasn't, that tells me that he's not where he needs to be spiritually. That's just what it tells me, man. With a voice like his and some of the conversations that he's had over the years about various different things that matter a lot, for him not to speak on that in a way that bucks the system tells me that the system has control of him. And I harken back to that case he fought. And I say, man, if he were to speak, what would be the consequences? Because otherwise, the Kendrick that we all know would have been brought this to our community. He would have mentioned it in one of them rap songs. Somehow. He would have alluded to it in some way, and he hasn't. And that just tells me that the Z's are behind him, one way or another. And so that he's a part of this grand distraction ain't a surprise to me. That he would drop in a situation like this right now while all the schools and all of this is going on in college, these kids going around trying to protest this nonsense and the media is lying but having a hard time lying about it. Now all of a sudden you got a good portion of the generation looking in this direction at what? Black on black conflict? Not surprising. Not surprising. But I think that's the point. I can look over here and be entertained, and I can look over there and say, yeah, there's some real stuff going on. I'm not one track minded when it comes to that. Kids in Rafa died this morning. I need Kendrick Lamar and all of his Pulitzer Prize talent to be speaking up on that instead of addressing a half Jewish guy about his transgressions in life. I'm just being honest with you. That's what I need from Kendrick Lamar, bro. Because I know he's smart enough to not only see what's going on there, but able to break it down and articulate it in such a way that will disarm every bit of what's going on there. He's got the brain for that. He's got the brain for that. Instead, he's breaking apart Drake, of whom we all love music and all that, but we're not looking to him for our moral compass, bro. We look to guys like Kendrick for help us with that. Like J. Cole to help us with that. And I just think it's a grand distraction. And one that Kenny's buying into one that Drake is probably born into. And it's to be truthfully honest, it's evil. It's pure evil. That's all it is. It's evil. And I wish to God that Kendrick specifically would wrap this up and get to talking about stuff that needs to be talked about with the voice and the brain that he has. He needs to stop bull crapping around with this low frequency nonsense. That's what I really think. It's intense. It's good rap battle. I'm loving it as a hip hop fan. If I was 20 years old, that's all I want to talk about. Literally. But the fact of the matter is, I'm old enough to know that the people behind it don't mean him no good, don't mean Drake no good, don't mean us no good. None of them, they don't. We know that. So it's only but so much entertainment I can take from that. It's only but so much of that I can look at before I start wondering, okay, what are we not paying attention to while we're focused on this? And so that's my frustration, man. I like the songs. The songs are good. Songs are very good for different reasons. Drake's production, Kendrick's quadruple entendres, and all the different puzzles that are in the songs. I mean, it takes weeks to try to decipher this man's music. He's that genius. It takes weeks to decipher this stuff. That first song that he did yesterday morning, from what I understand, it was produced by one of Taylor Swift's producers. Because Drake says he's tailor-made. He took a beat from that producer so that the song would be tailor-made. Like, that's how focused he is on doing this. That's how focused the teams are behind these people in making this really on brand for both artists. Drake's beat, the song that he used last night for Family Matters, is fire. The cadence it knocks like crazy. It's on beat. It's one of the best beats Drake's used in couples projects. And for me, it's like, look, man, I know that either they both had each other's songs in regards to this, so they could respond to one another, or I feel like Kendrick specifically had a song waiting to provide this content that we got last night upon release of Drake mentioning his family in any way. He had this in the tuck. That's what I think. He had that already loaded up. It wasn't him responding to what had been released 30 minutes before. He was waiting on that man to mention his family so he could release this on them. And he was probably hoping he would because it's some of his best work. Which tells me this is orchestrated. Because some of his best work was pointed at releasing information on Drake's kid. Now, for me, I look at these think tanks and I keep telling y'all, I've known somebody who was in these think tanks. They told me that they orchestrate everything from relationships to other stuff that you wouldn't even believe. And so when I think back on the last massive beef Drake had, where it was rumored that he was hiding a son than he really was, and now he comes out in this beef, and it's rumored he's hiding a daughter, and we'll see what happens. There's two things that come to mind. One thing comes to mind is this. I don't think Kendrick Lamar releases that information unless it's been double, triple checked, and quadruple checked. I don't think he releases that with the risk of him being exposed as somebody who was either fed bad information or somebody who wants to make up lies on Drake while trying to express that Drake's character is not what it should be. I don't think a person who can come up with 5 and 6 entendres in one situation is going to be that careless with his own image when he's going against somebody who's trying to smear his image. If you're going to release something saying somebody got a daughter, you had better already know DNA-wise that is what is going on. Otherwise, you're going to lose the battle off the strength of you making up lies or believing bullcrap. And I don't think Kendrick is that type of stupid. He's proving that in every facet of the situation. You understand what I'm saying? So, to me, my mind goes straight to, okay, these think tanks had this plan in Drake's career path. We ain't gonna tell nobody about his daughter. We ain't gonna tell nobody about his son. We're gonna release it to the world in a certain way. And if those kids end up being superstars 15, 20 years from now, it won't shock me at all, because I already see that angle. That's part of it. These little half Jewish kids, bro, they ain't playing with them like that. It pertains to their careers. They're not playing with Drake's career or none of that. And that's what brings me to the space where I'm worried about Kendrick Lamar's health, or what's going to happen in regards to his well-being. Because once you go up against the particular person that he went up against, when you go up against the person that he went up against, you find yourself in a situation where you wonder, are they going to come after me? Are they going to try to crash my plane? Are they going to... You have to wonder these type of things. And that's what I'm saying to you guys. It becomes a situation where you have to wonder if he's going to be in mortal danger off of the strength of who he waged war against and who's behind who he waged war against. This is why it's like, yo, that's why I think J. Cole probably said a few prayers and came to the conclusion that he should even get involved in this. That he should apologize and let them two men figure out their own spirit in regards to the situation. Sometimes you just got to trust your gut. Sometimes you got to really trust your gut. Because there's too many moving parts when you have conflict with somebody and you're as famous as them two are. Too many moving parts, too many people on both sides. You probably want to see things change. Kendrick's telling Drake he needs to watch his circle. Kendrick needs to watch his too. He better know it. That ain't a one-way street, brother. You better watch who you got around you too. Because if they don't have any dirt on you now, if they want to come after you, they're going to put the right temptation in front of you, or they're going to put the right situation in front of you, try to coerce you into looking guilty if you're not guilty. That's what I expect. Kendrick better expect it too. They're going to try to wrap him up in all type of stuff. Don't be surprised if he's accused of the R word within the next 16 months. Don't be surprised. Because that's the type of game that is played when you do stuff like this. And the stars as big as Drake, making as much money as Drake. When I looked at Academic's reaction, who I know clearly is a pro Drake supporter professionally, never mind that he's a fan of Drake. When he started hearing Kendrick say certain words, his face started changing. He appeared offended when Kendrick was essentially telling LeBron, keep the family away. Curry, keep the family away. I was studying Ac's face and he was offended. Why? Because a lot of what it is that he's got going on professionally is wrapped up in Drake being famous and the biggest star in the world. If you're telling people not to stand next to Drake, that's eating away at Ac's money. That's what I know. And Drake is talking about Academics is compromised. Ac was hot. And not the kind of hot that you play around with, but the kind of hot that you don't really want people to see, but you can't hide it. That's what it looked like he was going through on the live when he was listening to Kendrick's Meet the Grams face. He looked as offended as I'd imagine Drake looked. And that's because these people, like him, have their interests wrapped up in the celebrity of certain artists. They make the majority of their bread off of continuing to pump certain artists. And if you're telling people not to stand next to them artists, you eating at you stepping on their toes. You stepping on their toes, you stepping on their superiors' toes, whoever pay his dollars, whatever, you stepping on toes. And that's what I know Kendrick did last night, unless this is orchestrated. And even if it is orchestrated, they don't mind watching people fall. See, they can orchestrate the situation and still leave your butt open to get shot at or kicked at or whatever the case may be. They will orchestrate it to protect their own interests, but not you, artists. Not you, celebrity. They'll let you fall on the sword. That's why it's so important that people harken back to J. Cole bowing out of this situation and start to see how this picture is starting to be painted. Because it's painted out to be ugly, man. Whether it's controlled or not. It's severely ugly. And so that's my take on this stuff. I'm entertained. I like the music. I love the artists. But the men, those two men, they're going to have to squash this. They're going to have to squash this before it gets to a point where people are having conversations on the streets about what needs to happen. Having conversations on the streets about who really is making who look a certain way and how they can either stand for that and look away themselves for allowing it or not. Because that's what usually ends up happening. That's exactly what usually ends up happening. But we can't let that slide. That kind of thing. So it's like, and it's like, I don't know, man. I just feel like you go, when somebody goes low, so other, some go to hell, as they say, you know what I mean? But where Kendrick took this beef, I don't know if you can really come back from that, man. Some of the stuff that he said, I don't know if you can ever find yourself shaking hands with that man in the future, 25, 30 years from now, depending on how all this shakes out. And from what I understand, there may be more music Kendrick got backed up. It's like, bro, I've heard Kendrick allude to self-destructive behavior, hating himself. I've heard it when I watched that documentary that I told y'all I watched about 3 weeks ago on Kendrick Lamar. They were alluding to some of the things that may have taken place in his past make him hate himself. This, going that low, that could be self-destructive in a way. We talk about suicide by a cop. When you don't want to hurt yourself, but you want somebody else to hurt you, so you start doing certain things that put you in a position to have all kinds of beef, and you hope one of them gets you. It took me back to that space where I was wondering if Kendrick Lamar got some type of death wish or some type of self-loathing that he hasn't worked through, and it's coming out in this beef. Because when you go that low with people that are as powerful as Drake and his cronies, you have to know that the possibility is something bad happening. You have to know that. You have to know that. You have to know that you could be potentially putting other people in danger too. And vice versa. And vice versa. But with Drake, he's a little more powerful. He got a lot more money. It just is what it is. It just is what it is. And look, I'm going to say it like this. I can't speak for what goes on in Toronto. I don't know. I don't never been there in my life. But as it pertains to Drake, when he comes out here, he needs to move different. He needs to move different. Security needs to be up. That's what I know. Security needs to be up, man. And the circle needs to be tight. Who you fraternize with, who you really cool with most of the time, and all of that. Depending on what Drake says next, will determine just how serious that thought is. But I do know he needs to move different when he comes to LA. It ain't gonna be the same energy for him when he comes to Los Angeles. This is not. I ain't seen that movie before, and I know better. It's just different. It's different. Because Kendrick is a strong representative of this city, and this city got a lot going on all the time. And there's going to be some people who want to prove themselves to the people that they most respect. That's one thing that's prevalent out here in this city. Kendrick ain't even got to know the person that wants to prove himself. You feel me? It could be so hopeful that wants to prove himself. You know, that kind of thing. I took care of that for you, Kendrick. That's so prevalent out here in this city, man. And that's why I'm telling y'all, like, Drake needs to move different, man. He really needs to. Because even if the people in his circle know what's going on, if the public doesn't really think this is a fake beef, then it becomes one of those type of things where that door is open. You got that kind of stuff possible. Not everybody's intelligent, but everybody's ambitious in LA. You know what I'm saying? It's like a real thing. It's a real thing. So, yeah, man, I don't know, man. I said prayers last night. I hope I'm reaching somebody with this. People need to get their spirit right. They wage war with one another. That ain't even your real enemy. That ain't even your real enemy. That kind of thing, man. You got a problem with a man? Have a conversation with him, you know? You got a problem with somebody? Talk to them. Especially if you got a voice or something like that. You don't need to make content out of everything. You don't need to make clout out of everything, man. Some stuff is not worth the risk. It's not worth the trouble, man. That's just what I'm here to tell y'all. It's not worth the trouble. Y'all thinking y'all doing things for the numbers? It's the same thing we said in a previous therapy session. You're doing stuff for the numbers. Some of that stuff, you ain't even gonna benefit from it depending on what you're doing. You're gonna end up in prison, you're gonna end up in the ground, you're gonna end up without the clout because of what you did to get it. All that. It ain't worth it, man. And so that's what I'm saying, man. Do not be distracted. We are not losing sight of what's going on in this world. We're not losing sight of the people who've already proven themselves to not be trustworthy, who control a lot of these different things that we pay attention to. We see it clearly. And we know they want us fighting with one another. We know they want us hating on one another. They want to paint us out to be worse than we are, just like they're doing in other areas of life that we clearly see. Molding people's image to be villains when we know they're not villains. Molding our students out here who want to stand up against humanitarian atrocities as terroristic individuals, removing the hijabs from people's faces in front of the camera so that everybody can see them, essentially doxing them more or less in the presence of where it would be very unsafe for them. Yeah, we paying attention to that. We see that's happening. I can pay attention to both. I can listen to Kendrick's song and I can see y'all doing that. We see how they take something that's clearly not even well put together type of staging. This lady talking about she got poked in the eye by a Palestinian flag. We see the footage. No one's poking her. No one poked her in the eye, man. We see a man somewhere back east saying somebody hit him in the head with a flag. And you see the footage of him knocking his head up against the flag as he's continuing to have an argument with some people. They didn't hit him. He provoked that. He's flopping like a basketball player or a soccer player. What if there was no footage of this? We would have their word, and you best believe the media would back their word. Just like they're doing that lady who's got it poked in the eye, who really didn't get poked in the eye. I mean, we are dealing with master manipulators. Just like you say Drake is, Kendrick. That's what the media is doing right now. Deliberately taking full-fledged lies and painting them out to be truths even when there's footage otherwise. They're suggesting things that can't even be proven. Tell me who your enemy really is, bro. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm literally saying. BDF 44, thank y'all for watching. I'm out.